We're listening to the Ukrainians saying they don't have enough ammo. And even our Defense Department is saying we might have to figure out a way to get more funding so that we have enough ammo for ourselves and to give to allies like Ukraine. What is Biden's responsibility in trying to make sure that people in America whose support for Ukraine is softening will want to continue to try to help them?
Well, I'm going to try to help explain to the American people that defeating the Russians in Ukraine is the single most important event going on in the world right now. It will save us an enormous amount of money down the road if the Ukrainians can succeed.
This is my first video update from Athens, Greece. On this Saturday, let's talk about some news, and let's start things off with Mitch McConnell. He gave an interview to Fox News, to Dana Perino, and he told Fox News that the number one priority for the United States at this moment is Ukraine. So whether it's Democrat or Republican establishment, the number one priority is Ukraine. That is what the Uniparty is focused on at this moment. Not the people in Ohio. They're not going to get any FEMA money, but Zelensky, he's going to get some cash, some more cash, very, very soon. So let's talk now about the Munich Security Conference that started yesterday and will run up to Sunday, up to the 19th. And to be honest, the first day of speeches, I don't think there was anything earth-shattering or groundbreaking or shocking that was said by the mostly collective West leaders in attendance. There are leaders from other areas of the world as well, but mostly you're looking at the collective West leadership in Munich. Interestingly enough, I think this is the first time that Russia and I believe Iran were not invited to this conference, and actually the opposition leadership of Russia and Iran were invited to the Munich Security Conference. What kind of a message are you sending there when your main topic in this security conference is the conflict in Ukraine, and you don't want to invite Russia, and instead you invite the Russian opposition? Is the message that you're trying to send out that of regime change? Just saying. So we did have the big speech from the clown puppet leader Zelensky. He spoke via video to the crowd in Munich, and it's interesting that Zelensky traveled to the UK, he traveled to Paris, he traveled to Brussels, but in this instance, where he has all of the EU leaders and the UK American leadership in one place, he decides to not travel to Munich, and instead he addressed the crowd via video. I wonder why. I would have thought that Zelensky would have shown up in person with his begging bowl, as Alexander calls it, and to go around and try to collect money and weapons at this conference, since everybody is there, right there in person. So it would make it easy for Zelensky to go there and round up some more billions. But he gave his speech to the audience in Munich, and it was pretty much what you would expect from Zelensky. we need to hurry up on the delivery of weapons and tanks and fighter jets and give me more money and stuff like that. He said that, of course, Russia is not going to stop. He said at just Ukraine, it's going to move further into Europe because, according to Zelensky, Russia wants to take over all of Europe and recreate the Soviet empire again, and then more. This is the War Museum in Athens, by the way. And so he said a lot of those standard lines. He ended his speech by saying that that next year, after Ukraine's victory, we can all come back to Munich as a free Europe. He said that as well. But the interesting part about his speech was when he started talking about David and Goliath. That was the interesting part. Lockheed F-10 4G starfighter. So that David and Goliath part was an interesting addition to his script. Of course, Ukraine being David, Russia being Goliath. And he even, at one point during his speech, he even said something along the lines of Ukraine needs the sling. David needs the sling from Israel to win over Goliath, in reference to Israel giving Ukraine money, weapons, and of course the Iron Dome. And it's no surprise that Zelensky was addressing Israel, because just a couple of days ago, I believe the Israeli foreign minister made the first official visit of an Israeli government official, a representative of the government, to Kiev. And so Zelensky is trying very, very hard to get money and weapons from Israel. North American T-6G Texan. That's this plane right here. And we come to this right here, which is the North American F-86 Sabre Dog. Awesome. Very cool. So let's go up here. So obviously, Ukraine is desperate to get Israeli Iron Dome and weapons and ammo and stuff like that. Basically, demilitarize Israel is what Zelensky is focused on. But Ukraine is nowhere near a David in this scenario, because Russia is actually the country that is fighting 25-pounder Mark I. Great Britain. It's from Great Britain. Russia is the country that is actually fighting a proxy war against how many countries? 43 countries, including one of those countries being the United States, which has a military budget of $850 billion. Not to mention that Ukraine's military was built up a lot over the last 8 years. I actually read a report that said something like Ukraine's military, with all the money it's received from the collective West, Ukraine's military is its military budget is the highest in Europe, or one of the highest in Europe. Single motor helicopter, USA, OH-13S. So Ukraine's military was actually quite, with all the money and weapons it's received, is actually quite a powerful, if not the most powerful, most formidable military in Europe. If it was in NATO, I do believe that Ukraine's military would probably be second to, third. First the US, then Turkey, and then after Turkey would probably be Ukraine. So it's not exactly a David versus Goliath scenario, but this is the script that Zelensky was handed, and this was obviously some sort of overture to Israel to try and get Israel to give over whatever it has to Zelensky. And of course, Zelensky is always looking for more money and more weapons from the collective West. We had Olaf Scholz and Macron. They gave some interesting speeches. The new and improved Olaf Scholz, the new tougher Olaf Scholz, he said in his speech that he expects European member states, EU countries, collective West countries, to give up their tanks now. That's what he said. He said, if you haven't given tanks to Zelensky, then give them now, Olaf Scholz demanded. This is the new and improved tough Olaf. Forget about the Olaf that allowed his country to be deindustrialized, and forget about the Olaf that allowed his number one ally, the United States, to bomb his Nord Stream pipeline. That Olaf is history. What we have now is a new, improved, tougher Olaf. The Olaf that communicates with Trudeau. That's the Olaf that the world is going to see now, going forward. The tough Olaf, right? Justin, you idiot. We're gonna be seeing that Olaf now. And he also said that the way for this conflict to end, he said a speedy end to this conflict is through more escalation, more weapons. Basically, he's just repeating NATO's Stoltenberg, his line, which is, in order to end the war, we got to give Ukraine more weapons. That will lead to a quicker end to the conflict. And Macron also said some interesting things. He said, Northrop, F-5A freedom fighter. Did I show this one already? I don't think I showed this one. Maybe I did. Anyway, this is the outdoors museum, is indoors right over there. Macron, he said that he doesn't believe in regime change. He says, I don't believe in regime change, but his strategy in his speech is that through this spring counteroffensive, Ukraine will be able to defeat Russia, to gain territory, inflict a devastating blow to Russia, and they'll be able to then negotiate with Putin, but it'll be on Ukraine and the collective West's terms. So we shouldn't negotiate now, because Macron believes that through more arms to Ukraine, by giving more arms and money, weapons to Ukraine, then Ukraine will be able to achieve a victory in the spring, and then, only then, will the collective West be up to negotiating with Putin, because they will be able to dictate terms to Russia. That's Macron's strategy. He doesn't want regime change. He just wants a decisive victory in the springtime over Putin, and that decisive victory will give him the negotiating leverage over Russia, which means the terms that the West is constantly talking about, which are the Russian government stepping down, pre-1991 borders, $900 billion in reparations, and tribunals. That's pretty much their 4 or 5 point peace plan that they want to give to Russia, and that's what they're expecting Putin to agree on. Of course, this is all after this big spring counteroffensive, which will lead to the defeat of the Russian military. And according to the great military strategist, little Napoleon Macron, the way to do this is through more weapons. If they get the weapons to Ukraine, then they'll get the spring counteroffensive. They will defeat Russia then come spring, summertime, and they'll be able to sit at the negotiating table with Putin. What else? Zelensky also said that this conflict is existential. He said that for Europe, he said that Ukraine must win, because if Ukraine does not win, then all of Europe is in danger. Polish Prime Minister Morawiecki pretty much said the same thing last week. He said that the conflict with Russia is existential for Poland. So basically the strategy is that in order to save Europe, you have to give Ukraine the weapons that it needs, and by giving Ukraine the weapons that it needs, it will be able to defeat Russia a lot faster than having it drag on for the next year or two, and then peace and order will be restored. As Nuland said in her interview yesterday, Russia can then remove Putin, and it could be happy under the control of the West. That's what Nuland said. That's what she would prefer happen to Russia, for Russia to overthrow Putin and be under the benevolent control of the West. So that's pretty much what was said at the Munich Security Conference for the first day. I think I actually have the program for February 17th, which is kind of funny to look at the program of speakers and panels that were in Munich. You actually have a panel called Against Lawlessness, Ensuring Accountability, with Lindsey Graham on that panel. Lindsey Graham is on that panel. It's against lawlessness and ensuring accountability with Lindsey Graham. Bill Gates is on a panel called Recalibrating the Compass, South-North Cooperation. That's with Bill Gates on that panel. You have Christiane Amanpour interviewing Olaf Scholz. Well, this has already happened, so she's already interviewed Olaf Scholz, and the title of that interview was Germany in the World, with Olaf Scholz and Christiane Amanpour, because Christiane Amanpour is very sophisticated. She's a sophisticated journalist, and she was interviewing Olaf Scholz there. You have Spotlight Ukraine. That was the evening panel with Ulf Kristersson and Morawiecki. So you have the Swedish Prime Minister, the Polish Prime Minister, and Mitch McConnell was on that panel. Spotlight Ukraine. And you also had another panel, an afternoon panel called Power Shifts, Geopolitics of the Green Transition, with Robert Habeck and Franz Timmerman and a bunch of other people. So I imagine that panel was the perfect place for everyone to discuss the geopolitical and ecological disaster of Nord Stream. I imagine that this was the panel where they talked about Cy Hirsch's article and what the Nord Stream pipeline sabotage means for the environment and for the geopolitical situation in Europe, right? I'm sure that's what they talked about at this panel with Robert Habeck. I doubt it. I absolutely doubt it. So let's wrap up this video and let's do. Should we do a clown world? I think we could do a clown world. We have two clown world stories. One of them is from Latvia. And from what I understand, in Latvia, they are now repossessing cars, automobiles that were confiscated from various crimes or drunk driving or stuff like that, and they're taking these cars and they're giving them over to Zelensky, that's a new one. That's an interesting way to take part in the Ukraine corruption scam, taking the cars of Latvian citizens that you've confiscated and giving them over to the Zelensky regime. That's a new one. And the second clown world is the fact that Viagra is not going to be available in Russia anymore. This is a big blow to the Putin regime. No more Viagra for Russia. And there's actually, I think the Sun had an article with this title: "Hard luck, Vlad. Supplies of Viagra to Russia suspended over Ukraine war in fresh blow for Putin." A fresh blow for Putin. No more Viagra to Russia. With each day, they embarrass themselves more and more with each passing day. Anyway, that's the video, everybody, on this Saturday in Athens, Greece. I hope you liked the short tour of the outside of the War Museum. Let me cross here. I'm going to sign out. theduran.locals.com. We are on Rockfin as well, and go to the Duran shop, 10% off. Use the code good day. Take care.